So getting you this comprehensive coverage only on Times Now, because it is going to be a wild card in global geopolitics and the world economy. Yes, we are talking about this meeting that is going to happen soon between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, President of Russia Vladimir Putin will be arriving in New Delhi on a state visit to India for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. Now, during this two-day visit, President Putin will be holding talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as both of the leaders will be exchanging views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. A number of agreements are also expected to be signed, including areas related to trade, economy, healthcare, academics and culture. And this visit will provide an opportunity for the leadership of India and Russia to review progress in bilateral relations, set the vision for strengthening the special and the privileged strategic partnership as well. So in about 10 hours from now, as we are looking at the arrival of President Putin to India, and he will be hosted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a private dinner. And this is going to be for the 17th time that two leaders are going to be meeting. As far as what's going to be this visit as a trump card, because here is where the geopolitical question now arrives. So let's take you and begin with the first message that President Trump has been given ever since this first visit, or Putin is now concerned, to India, and ever since the Russia-Ukraine war started and the steep hike, the tariff hike that has been imposed by the US on India. So let's talk about this dosti that has been ongoing as far as a long weather friend, that an ally that Russia continues to be of India. As far as trade ties are concerned, we're looking at bilateral trade amounting to nearly $65.70 billion, and the target by 2030 is now estimated with nearly $100 billion US. Now, as far as the Russian oil imports are concerned, because this has been one of the issues where when it comes to the purchase of Russian oil, that may have fallen drastically, but let's tell you what it means in terms of trade and energy. So when we speak of the Russian oil imports before the Ukraine war amounted to nearly 2.5% of the imports. During the Ukraine war, nearly 35.8% of those imports, and the estimated projection this year, this month itself, is said to be around 20% approximately. Now, as far as Russia is concerned, that continues to be India's all-weather ally, traditionally and strategically. Such has been the dosti that Trump has penalized India. He has singled out India with those steep 50% tariffs for buying discounted oil from Russia and allegedly fueling Russia's war machine. Now, this is Modi's war. If you remember, as far as one of the multiple advisors of Donald Trump have been single-handedly blaming India for the ongoing conflict. Now, since Trump's stringent sanctions, India's imports of Russian oil may have fallen drastically. But as far as this dosti is concerned, we talk about the claims that has been made by the US leaders and the facts on the table, because India, diplomatically speaking, has shown the world the mirror. Let's talk about those claims that has been made, that India fuels Russian war machine. What is the fact on the table? No sanction on Russian oil and the price cap by G7 and EU, which continue to purchase Russian oil. How about that? When we speak of another US claim saying that India is now being punished for buying Russian oil, but the fact on the table, it is China which is one of the biggest buyers of Russian oil, followed by India and Turkey as well. You can see the numbers there on your screens. Now, when we speak of this is Modi's war and the peace path actually goes from New Delhi, such has been the statements and outrageous statements that has been made by Donald Trump's advisors. But the fact on the table, India buys oil from international traders, not the Russian state. And when it comes to US claims saying that the path to peace is via New Delhi, well, here is the fact on the table. Why don't you penalize EU with the same amount of tariffs? Why don't you penalize China then? Why don't you penalize Turkey then? This is as far as a statement that has come in from India, saying that India, being a developing nation, all of the purchase and Russian oil imports are derived from the market factors. As far as the US claim being that sanctions on India is only to end the war, well, the facts on the table is that the EU still continues to import Russian crude oil. Why aren't we looking at steep sanctions there? EU sanctions exempt US and Canada. EU sanctions exempt Japan till 2026. But such kind of a leverage, such kind of exemption is not coming in for India's way. So let's connect with Srinjoy on this, because all of these long-standing issues that we have seen, Srinjoy, Russia has been a time-tested partner for India. And now this development of India-Russia relations has also been a key pillar of India's foreign policy.
What India remembers most is the support of the Soviet Union in 1971 during the Bangladesh crisis. Now, that is something India has not forgotten, and that is why Russia remains such a stable ally, friend and partner. That's really the first thing. As far as the oil issue is concerned, yes, India has been buying Russian oil, but this in the past was something America approved of. Let's not forget, the Americans themselves said that when India buys Russian oil, then it keeps world prices down. And what is not known is that when India buys Russian crude, it refines the crude and sells it in America.
Yes.
And America used to view it as Indian oil.
And remember recent statements that have also come in from President Trump, where he has been making statements, as Mr. Sachdev could also come on that. Good morning to you, sir. As he believes that India has already stopped the purchase of Russian oil, and he is very happy with this development. But India continues to maintain, as far as when it comes to Russia, its long-standing friend, that dialogue and diplomacy is the only way forward with the ongoing conflict, of course, avoiding direct criticism of Moscow while positioning itself also as a potential mediator, as India is also friends with Ukraine. Mr.
Is this for me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. No, certainly, yes. See, there are two things out here. As long as it was a matter of tariffs, right, imposed on India for buying Russian oil, India stood by Russia. Okay, we kept on buying the oil and, of course, refining and selling it to the European and American markets, which helped the world markets anyway. But we stood with Russia. Now the game is changing, because now now there are sanctions on the two major exporters from Russia, which is Lukoil and Rosneft. What this means is that if any Indian purchaser, be it Indian government or private sector, buys from Lukoil or Rosneft, then this Indian company would face financial blockage in the world markets, and that no company can afford to. So India is reducing, and India will reduce buying Russian oil. This factor, Putin, I think, very well understands. He's a mature personality, politician, leader, so they can see that India stood by Russia with them till the extent India could. But right now, sanctions is a different matter. So, and also remember, in January, the EU, it has imposed a 19th package of sanctions which are going to kick in. So, looking at the EU sanctions and the American sanctions, we will be reducing purchase of Russian oil more or less to a very limited extent. I think though there are workarounds being made.
All right.
The Russians are also looking to work around. We are also looking to work around. But this will impact the import of oil. To my mind, the key thing that I want to look at in this visit is that what are the major steps we take in the non-oil, non-defense trade? You see, before the Ukraine war, Russia-India bilateral trade was what, about $13 to $15 billion. That's it.
So what we are looking at this time, because this is discussion that's going to happen on trade, on economic cooperation, and also other promising projects, in industrial cooperation, innovative technologies, transport, peaceful space exploration, mining and healthcare, and other sectors as well. Appreciate you joining us here on the broadcast, Mr. Sachdev, because when we speak of, since the signing of the declaration of India-Russia strategic partnership that happened back in October 2000, India-Russia ties have also acquired a qualitatively new character with enhanced levels of cooperation in almost all of the areas. Here's a better understanding.
Now let's also take a look at the India-Russia Relos pact, or the reciprocal exchange of logistic support. Why is this so very significant? Well, it has already been inked by the two leaders. But will this defense pact prepare India for a war, or will it insulate India for war? Well, let's tell you why. This may be the perfect deterrent for our wily neighbors such as China and Pakistan. Well, this will ensure mutual deployment of warships and aircraft. Both nations can send military formations without the long legal case-by-case access. Also, this will ensure mutual use of airports as well as port spaces. It will also regulate dispatch of troops, of equipment, as well as logistics. It can be used for non-military purposes as well and will help in humanitarian aid, in disaster relief efforts as well. So, Relos Pact wouldn't be about fighting wars, it would be about showing India's strategic flexibility to both Pakistan and China. Why? Well, here's why. When it talks about fuel, ammunition and repairs, this can be done anywhere and much faster than before, because now warships can refuel without returning to their home bases. Aircraft can land, it can refuel, and it can be redeployed from friendly bases as well. Damage can be repaired to any aircraft outside of India. Doesn't need to come back to India, get fixed, repaired, and then sent. It can be done at friendly bases as well. Also, it ensures that there are going to be no diplomatic delays in case there is war. Aircraft, warships, access is already pre-approved. So it's going to be much faster because the process has already been put in place. Also, backup bases. What do backup bases for India means? Means higher survivability. That means, let's say, tomorrow our ports are under attack. It gives us alternate ports which are being made available to our forces. In case there are emergency landings which are required, it is going to be guaranteed with a friendly airstrip. Also, longer naval reach. That's going to be very significant. That means India can now have longer patrols for our ships because the ships don't need to return to home base to refuel and then get redeployed. They can continue with their journey, their patrolling after refueling at Russian bases as well. Also, at a time of evacuation and crisis response, it's going to increase that significantly. It's going to ensure that there are faster civilian evacuations via Russian facilities, which will be available for India. Now, the deterrence effect. That's very significant because now India will not be running dry, nor is it going to be isolated just in case our neighbors are up to their own tricks. India can fight much beyond its shoreline as well, as I was telling you with the patrols. Now, this is what Relos will, however, not do. It's important for us to point that out as well. It does not say that this is a war pact. It is logistical support, not a war pact. It will not ensure automatic military support either. It will not give joint fighting in case there is war. Also, it does not allow for the use of foreign troops in war. It also does not talk about any shared command either. Also, it will not allow for permanent stations. But will it be one of the biggest deterrents against enemies of India? Well, for all you know, this visit by President Putin to India may just be Prime Minister Modi's Brahmastra. Many have called it the trump card against those who may turn out to be enemies for India.
So there you have it. Russia, without a doubt, is India's biggest defense partner and its strongest ally and dost when it comes to defense deals. What we witness is the might of Russia's S-400 systems during Operation Sindoor, but which helped us shield against as far as when it comes to our enemies. But Russia being India's largest defense partner, and this is going to be cemented further when we speak of nearly 36% of the arms import that was witnessed in 4 years of 2020 and 2024, and they are now being supplied on part of Russia, amounting for nearly 72% in the years 2010 to 2014. India, meanwhile, has 260 plus Su-30 MKIs and S-400s defense shield as well, which was prominently used during Operation Sindoor. And there is a request for proposal to Russia as well when we speak of the Sukhoi Su-57. Likely that is now made to happen. But right now, what is being said, the defense deal are not going to be on the table, but what is more important is what the deal does not signify. Let's break that down, because this is now coming across, as Meghna has rightly pointed out, what Relos will not do: logistic support, not war pact, automatic military support, joint fighting, use of foreign troops, shared command, permanent stations. This is something that will not happen. But all of that, as far as when it comes to cementing the ties further in multiple sectors of areas of interest, that is going to happen between India and Russia. So going back to Srinjoy for a quick live update again, because Srinjoy, what are we looking at as far as Relos is now concerned? Because without a doubt, the biggest defense partner is Russia, and the strongest friend when it comes to defense deals. What is being witnessed today is the fulfilling of promises as far as what India has been signing with the defense deals with Russia.
Relos, of course, is going to be important. It has been cleared by the Russian parliament, the Duma. India has a similar agreement with the United States of America, and that was signed a few years ago. So it gives India strategic viabilities in many ways. As you rightly said, Relos is important. It's a logistical agreement. We now have it with the Russians. We already have it with the Americans. Now, that apart, as far as defense is concerned, you rightly said there will be no defense deals. Defense deals are not done during such visits, but several things are in the pipeline. You spoke of the S-400. Yes, 3 systems have come from Russia. 2 more are expected next year. Also, since the systems were used, missiles were used, India needs an additional 300 missiles worth 10,000 crores. That deal is in the process, and that will happen in the near future. Those 300 missiles will come to India. Besides that, India is in the market for 5 more systems of the S-400. The Su-57 Sukhoi fighter aircraft India has looked at, but currently there is no forward movement on the Sukhoi 57. But what we know is that 5 Su-400 air defense systems are S-400 air defense systems are being seriously discussed. And India wants to have 10 of them. Three for the border with Pakistan, 2 for the Northeast, 1 for Mumbai, 1 for Gujarat, 1 for perhaps Delhi, 1 for training, and so on.
Right.
So the Sukhoi 57 is not really on the agenda so much. But the
Well, we'll be talking about that at length there, Srinjoy, because there are multiple factors that are now at play. But so far, what we are looking at as far as this summit is now concerned, on the invitation that has been accepted by President Putin, there is going to be a number of firsts that is going to be witnessed before the 2 world leaders get together in New Delhi. Thank you very much for the moment for joining us here on the broadcast. We'll just get